Who's ready to win the day in sports? I know you are. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Justin Fensterman, and let's break everything down from a fantasy sports perspective.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Justin Fensterman, and welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily here on the Elite Plus Network, powered by the good old FG, FantasyGuru.com, where you can find all of my work. I head up our basketball content for the site, but also dabble in some football too, and talk a lot of sports as well. I do play fantasy baseball. I'm in a golf pool. I'm playing DFS NASCAR, because wherever there's a chance to win, I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity, and you can as well, especially by signing up for the MVP Pass plan. That gets you everything we have to offer: basketball, hockey, golf, racing, horse racing, and NASCAR, MMA. You get it all. You can sign up for a month, support at fantasyguru.com, or for the year. Again, all DFS, all fantasy, all articles, all podcasts, all betting, except in MLB and NFL. Those are separate. And our MLB, by the way, package is live right now. Had a good time yesterday. Check out yesterday's episode 598 of Fantasy Sports Daily. I had Patio Joe Baldino on, was talking to him about head-to-head strategy in points leagues. I'm a big fan of points leagues, and I feel like it's a good way, especially for those that want to get more interest when it comes to fantasy baseball. I feel like points leagues are a big time sell, simply because when it comes down to getting that interest, the fun that we have in fantasy football and points chasing, we can have a league like that in other sports. I do it for my NBA league, and a lot of people, including Patio Joe, who has a piece right now up at fantasyguru.com about strategizing surrounding head-to-head points leagues. I had a great time with him yesterday, and ultimately, I just think that points leagues are a way to save the season-long game. Now, it doesn't take away the fact that you're still going to have to put in that effort. It's going to be a half-year experience for the most part, 5 months, whatever. But at the end of the day, you know what the point allotment is. With categories, it's a little bit more annoying. It helps with your overall point total versus a 5-4. I'm dealing with this in one of my leagues right now, where I'm going to be outside the top 4, so I'm going to miss the playoffs in this league. But it's every week I'm either winning 5-4, losing 5-4-5, and it's like way too close. And again, if I was in a points league, have a better shot at still being involved at the end of the year. I'm not making an excuse, but it just so happens every single week, it seems like every week, at least 13, if not 14 weeks of the NBA season, I've been 5-4 or 4-5 in this league in categories. So I get it. I totally get it. And I really do feel that it helps the interest level too, ultimately, when it comes to fantasy sports. Here's what's on the agenda today. Yesterday, I did a little baseball and basketball. Today, I'm going to do a little football and basketball, because I'm going to talk about the slate that we have, a nice little 8-gamer, mid-size 8-gamer that we've got going on. And then I'm going to talk with Armando Marsal, because as you know, with our guests, or some of our guests that we're bringing on between me and Ray Flowers, who normally hosts this podcast Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'm with you Tuesdays and Wednesdays all week long, noon Eastern. We are reviewing these teams and these 2025 seasons. We are up to the Buffalo Bills, so I will talk with Armando about that a little bit. Make sure you catch his podcast, bi-weekly podcast, Mind of Marsal. New episodes come out. Armando, very analytical, also knows the game of football because he watches a lot of football. And I can't say that enough, that watching these games and some of these other sports too, some of the sports I know a little bit less, I'm watching more so I can get better. I'm reading more and I'm watching more. And I'm not blocking out 24 hours to do so, but a little goes a long way. Adam, you P1, great to see you as always. Awesome times with Adam here, always hanging out with me and all of you in Fantasy Sports Daily, which is, by the way, the extension of fantasyguru.com. So let's talk about the NBA slate. Well, first of all, let's go from the bottom up for a second on the document. Watch Along Wednesday returns tomorrow night at about 10 p.m. Eastern. For those that might not be familiar, when it comes to the NBA, I feel like having the time blocked out to be able to help anyone that may need when it comes to DFS for contest selection, when it comes to how to build around certain pieces, core plays, my core four, our other analysts' core fours. The games that are going on right now, I'd be giving you live reactions in Discord. And I'm looking to just have a conversation on what you're seeing. And we did this a lot more last year where a few of you would be on a few games, I'd be on a few games, and we'd all just be sharing notes the entire time on what we're seeing while sweating out our bets, while sweating out our DFS contests too. So that's why for me, Watch Along Wednesday is important. It will continue going through the end of the regular season, which is right in the end of the regular season, less than 2 months away. But don't worry, because we will still have NBA content all throughout the playoffs and including the NBA finals. Because like I always say, and I'll say it, and I'm like a broken freaking record, wherever there's a chance to win, I want that opportunity. That's at the end of the day. I want to win. I'm hella competitive. And so with that, let's talk about a little bit of a mess of a situation that we're dealing with when it comes to this NBA slate. And then if I don't get to this today, I will get to it tomorrow. I know I've been promoting it. I will talk a little betting strategy when it comes to assists. So if I don't get to this by the end of the preview today, because we got a lot to talk about with scenarios, then tomorrow I will talk about assists and what exactly I look for. I bringing this back up because a few of you have been asking me about it, and it's always good to recycle and talk about what exactly we're looking for. And also, by the way, learning about which players, when it comes to the assist props, you learn a lot for your DFS lineups about usage and who has the ball for the most part, who's involved in the play, and how many of the possessions. That's huge right there. That's what we're looking for ultimately with a lot of our value plays, especially. But if we're going to be paying up, I want that usage. That's why it's so hard on certain teams like the Lakers, and for instance, with LeBron James and Luka Doncic. You add Reeves into the mix. Yeah, it's really just them, but it makes it hard. Who do I trust on a given night here? So that's why it's very important, and that's why I'm going to talk about assists over the next couple of days. So for tonight's slate, the highest total on the board at 238.5, Washington, Atlanta. No surprise here. Why? Because the Wizards are involved. And these two teams play very, very fast. But the problem is it's a double-digit spread. And yesterday, with the double-digit spread, it just hung in there to the point where the Rockets players played enough. All of them, not all of them, but decent amount of them ended up paying off. I was surprised with what we saw from Tyrese. Jabari Smith continues to rebound as well as score, and that's been big there. He paid off. That was big. But, yeah, when it came to guys like Amen Thompson, they were able to get it a little bit more because while Utah was down the whole game, they were kind of sort of hanging in there near the end, and then after that, they ended up losing by 20. But that's why it was very difficult, because between the antics of the Utah Jazz with what they've been pulling with their players and their minutes, and as you saw once again, not a lot of people in Utah paying off in the hard matchup. So we were pretty much at a loss for them outside of Ace Bailey, who, by the way, another guy continues to rebound. This is something I'm going to continue to watch because no one's looking at Ace Bailey props right now. This is something I'm going to start to watch, and I'm hoping we get a few low lines on him soon enough, because winning and then pulling starters or down by 30, this guy needs the reps. He's getting 30 minutes. So that's the big question today. Who do we trust from Atlanta? Because Jalen Johnson, and this stinks because of last week when I came on the stream and I was talking a little bit about futures, Deni Avdija was the favorite for most improved player, but Deni Avdija just got hurt like a couple of days ago, and you saw those odds shift right to Jalen Johnson. Now, I want to trust Jalen Johnson in this matchup. It's a double-digit spread, but at the end of the day, Jalen Johnson, there's no reason why he can't dominate Washington tonight. Washington, one of the most vulnerable teams in the post. The big question is, will he be able to volume produce it? I think he will. It's interesting. I was looking at the pricing regarding the Hawks, and Jalen Johnson is one of the few players that you really could trust in a volume situation. If he ends up playing 30 minutes, he can still destroy this. If you need any proof, just follow him one night and look at his stat line most nights at halftime. Seriously, it's incredible how quickly this guy grabs rebounds and produces assists. That much usage. And it says a lot because one of my favorites and one of our favorites, the Mafia's favorites from last year that we really hit on so many bets, Dyson Daniels' price has dropped and dropped and dropped to the point where he's not hitting value much anymore. We're going to buy that dip a little bit tonight. And I know, it's a little bit risky. He's not going to be an ultimate ceiling play, but do I think that he's a decent floor play for the price, low 6K? Yes. Yes, I do. In this matchup, I do. I've seen how bad the Wizards defense is, missing front court pieces. So, yes, I'm going to be looking at Atlanta. Am I going to be all in on Atlanta like Onyeka Okongwu, who's just going to get us there? I'm not forcing him in there unless I really don't like the centers, and I just got to see a little bit more regarding the injuries here. It's very hard tonight to plant your flag on one of the highest priced guys. I'm having a tough time doing it, and I've been looking at the slate all morning. But, yes, we're going to be involved in this Washington-Atlanta game. And I'm really going to try to ignore the narrative of the whole revenge narrative because I don't play into those with CJ McCollum. But let's not forget, CJ McCollum, now with where he's at with his price and everything, he can do a lot too in about 30 to 32 minutes. So I don't want to put that past him or anything like that. So that's the Hawks team that we're looking at right now. So while I think the Hawks are going to take care of the Wizards, I don't think it's a full fade on this. Now, I mentioned centers and I mentioned Onyeka Okongwu. Well, that's not going to matter if Joel Embiid ends up playing because Joel Embiid is going to completely dominate the Pacers front court tonight if he plays. Now, if he doesn't play, yes, I'm going to be looking at Andre Drummond in this kind of matchup. Major pace-up spot. The Pacers are a terrible shooting team. The Pacers give up a ton of rebounds. Andre Drummond's the type of player that in a matchup without Embiid, he can volume produce. Even Embiid in a matchup like this can as well. I worry a little bit more about a Tyrese Maxey in that spot because Indiana just so banged up. No Nesmith takes away some defense. We'll see about Nembhard. He's questionable. Pascal Siakam is doubtful for this game. It seems like just about every player is either questionable, out, or doubtful on this team, as sad as it is. It's funny. I mean, this team just going to the NBA Finals, and I do wonder how they would be if Halliburton was healthy, but everybody else has been getting hurt as much as they have. Would Halliburton alone be able to keep this team afloat? Unsure about that. So we're going to be looking at Philadelphia, Indiana tonight, depending on Joel Embiid. That's going to be major for us right there. That's going to be huge. So, and if Joel Embiid is not playing, am I going to give some of these Pacers value guys a little bit more of a look? Maybe I have a Micah Potter in there, but none of those guys really excite me that much, except for one player. There is one player, and his name is Jarris Walker. Philadelphia, and even if Joel Embiid plays, Jarris Walker has been doing a lot, and he's been taking on a bigger scoring role. We've seen him play in the post. I like Jarris Walker. It's funny. I actually had Jarris Walker in a dynasty fantasy basketball league that I'm in, and I don't know why. I just kind of got sick of it. I picked him in the rookie draft a few years ago, and then I dropped him. I had enough, and I regretted it, and then finally someone else dropped him earlier, and I grabbed him, and now we're going to be getting some benefits because the Indiana Pacers, kind of like some of the other teams, are going to start doing whatever they can to just keep themselves in position to have one of the top percentages going into the NBA draft lottery. Now, they can't be as stupid as the Utah Jazz have been about it, but at the same time, they could start pulling players out at certain points of games too. And let's face it, like I said, all year long, this team has been a garbage shooting team. And that's why we've attacked them on the glass especially. So that's where I'm at with Indiana right now and Philadelphia. I do think Embiid can volume produce, and I do think Drummond in that situation. I'm kind of in a wait and see regarding Maxey. It's hard not to write Maxey up in a situation like this. The assist ceiling is going to be higher with the big pace bump. Nemhard banged up. Who's going to be able to stop Tyrese Maxey? Nobody. Are they going to be up by 45 points? I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. But can they be up 15, 20 most of the game? Yes, they can. Absolutely, yes, they can. Now, Charlotte-Chicago is going to be interesting now because remember, the suspensions on the Charlotte side are now over. So you're going to have Diabate back in, which he averages a ton of rebounding chances, and that's going to take away from guys like Knipple. We've seen this before. The big thing is here with Charlotte-Chicago, we're playing to the Bulls' pace, which is great. The Bulls' front court at this point is pretty much Matas Buzelis. I'm shocked that Jalen Smith, who's dealing with a strained calf, I'm shocked that he's even questionable for this game and he hasn't been ruled out. But I'm more thinking, and I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I'm more thinking that he's going to be out this game. This front court is going to be so vulnerable. And it's not like with Moussa, Diabate. They're just going to play him 12 minutes because he hasn't played in a while, and he's a volume producer too. So that's something else that we're going to be on the watch for. But we have to, I don't want to say temper our expectations, but we have to be careful. In my opinion, can we go all in on Charlotte? I personally think that Charlotte's going to get the best of the Bulls tonight in a big way. Charlotte plays great defense. The Bulls do not. I don't think we see Josh Giddey play full minutes yet, personally. And now Charlotte, by the way, is going to have Kobe White. Who knows how many minutes he ends up playing in this game. He's been a little bit banged up. Are they going to start him slow? My guess is that they start him a little bit slow. Josh Giddey has not been playing a ton of minutes, and that scares me off of that situation especially. But I'm trying to decide right now where to plant my flag between Brandon Miller, Knipple, and even LaMelo Ball, who've been playing and producing a little bit more. So we're going to have some investment in this game, but I haven't decided yet if we're all in on Charlotte tonight because I'm more worried that the Bulls are not going to be able to keep it close, especially if their front court is as depleted as it is and they're not going to be able to stop anything. That's the problem there. Because if you look at Chicago, it's really at this point, I mean, even the trade for Jaden Ivey has so far been a bust and a failure. He's admitted he can't do what he used to do. And at this point, it's a lot of just secondary scoring, and Matas Buzelis will help out with that. But without a fully entrenched Josh Giddey, I don't know how the Bulls are going to be able to keep up with a full strength or near full strength Hornets team. I really don't. So that's something to maybe think about from the wagering standpoint tonight, because like I said, I want to be involved in this game. I just really worry about the Bulls. And it's funny because the Hornets are an 8.5-point favorite on the road in this one. So I'm still deciding how in we're going to be on their main guys, because again, Big Moose being in, Miles Bridges being in, that changes everything at this point. We know Bridges takes shots. We know both of them command a little bit more of rebounding chances. So that's going to impact those other forwards that we've been able to rely on for the last few games. But it's been a good run, but now we got to figure out where we're planting our flag with this team. And Big Moose is someone I'm looking there because he's very, very cheap tonight. And again, circling back to the Onyeka Okongwu Wizards matchup, we can go that direction, even though he'll be in a race against time, to maybe just get us to that 5 to 6x ceiling. Or we go after Big Moose, who in his matchup, the Bulls front court is so vulnerable, he should be able to score even tonight. Rebounding won't be a problem. The scoring should be less of an issue tonight. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now as I'm going into the afternoon. We'll see if injury impact helps with that. The Knicks and the Cavs are interesting because I know that the Knicks are very vulnerable in their backcourt, but we have to plant our flag. And ultimately, I see James Harden with the ball a little bit more. We know how much Donovan Mitchell loves to play the Knicks, but I think personally, if you're going to invest in one of the Cleveland guys, if you're in GPPs, and I don't blame you, because the big vulnerability of the Knicks has been backcourt play, which kind of shocks me, but Jalen Brunson hasn't been doing as well on his assignment. So that's going to really impact James Harden tonight. So I feel like with James Harden, maybe a little bit more of an investment in a small saver with James Harden. But remember, the Cavs are playing against pace tonight. The Knicks are still a pretty good defensive team. They've really lifted up their defense. The Knicks don't go away either. That's the other thing too. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cavs can do. I'm really kind of not fully trusting Evan Mobley just yet. When you've got a team like Cleveland now with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden in the backcourt, everybody else to me, including Mobley, who's now the number 3 guy, they're getting scraps. So Jared Allen, he'll get his inside. If the cutting is working, but Jared Allen is in a tough spot tonight because you got to remember, it's not as much Karl-Anthony Towns. That's the problem. It's Mitchell Robinson when he comes in. That's going to keep Jared Allen away from the basket. So that's something as well to think about tonight when you're looking at the Cavs front court, because Big Mitch is an impact player. And while he doesn't really do much for us from the fantasy side of it, because you really don't know how much he's going to score, but even the rebounding's been down, but just his presence, that's huge right there. And that keeps Jared Allen from cutting. So if you have an avenue that's going to be stopped a little bit, well, I think it's going to be a little bit more scoring from the guards tonight. And yes, that's going to include Mitchell, but is he going to have to be scoring dependent? That's why ultimately James Harden to me is the safer bet. Now on the other side for the Knicks, we can look at some guys because Karl-Anthony Towns is sub 9K on DraftKings. We can look at Karl-Anthony Towns, but someone else I kind of want to look at too. I want to look at Jalen Brunson tonight because the Knicks Cavs is going to be a nice matchup here with an up-tempo pace, heavily favoring the Knicks. The Cavs play quick, and I think Jalen Brunson is going to be able to benefit from that, especially from the assist standpoint. But if he draws Harden a lot of that matchup, it's different now with no Darius Garland. And yeah, there are going to be times when you've got some of the Cavs guards coming in that are better defenders here. Like you're going to have, for instance, for the Cavs, you're going to have Keon Ellis come in a little bit and try to be a gnat when it comes to Brunson. Just stand by him the entire time and just be in his face. And then you're going to have maybe someone else too, like you can even see a Dennis Schroeder play a little bit too, and he's going to be all over Jalen Brunson. So I still think because of the pace and because of the need for Jalen Brunson in this matchup, because the Knicks are going to need offense tonight, Cat and Brunson are going to have to come through. This is not one of those games where the Knicks are going to be able to come back from behind down 30. It's not. I mean, I know that they did it against Houston, like down 20, but this team puts up a high-powered amount of offense, and they'll start running away from you, and it's quick. The Knicks are not used to that kind of up-tempo style. So that's why tonight, when it comes to this matchup, I'm always careful when the Knicks are on the board. The players are priced very appropriately. They play at a slow pace. Their rotation is bigger. It's not like what we saw last year. So that's why I'm always careful in these situations. But I am not fading it, no. Especially with that James Harden call. He is for sure going to be in the write-up. We move on to Miami-Milwaukee here, and with this game, again, going to be a nice up-tempo, quick pace between these two teams, and the guards are expensive for Milwaukee, but both of them are in play until, especially at their price points, until Giannis Antetokounmpo comes back. Now, the big question for me is how much center involvement do I do in this game on the Milwaukee side? Because Bobby Portis is cheap enough, but he's like a yo-yo, very up and down. So beyond the guards at this point, beyond Rollins and Kevin Porter, I mean, maybe you put in a Kuzma, but I'm still not even very comfortable with that. It's pretty much it for Milwaukee. From the Miami side, it's a little bit different for me. I haven't decided where I'm going just yet with Tyler Hero. Personally, I feel like he's one of those guys that can I kind of feel like with him, like I do on Onyeka Okongwu, decent matchup, and good matchup, but at the same time, is the ceiling really worth paying 7.5 for or around that? That's kind of what I'm debating with Tyler Hero right now. But we move on to the bigs, and look, I was thinking about Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins continues to come through, and I feel like without Giannis, there's some vulnerability there. But then the other areas I'm looking at, Bam Adebayo It's not going to be the easiest matchup, but I think it's a beatable matchup for him. And off the bench, and maybe the most valuable asset on this team at this point when it comes to tonight. I worded that so stupidly. It was like he's being like a trade asset. No, I'd say the most valuable Heat player tonight via price point is Kel'el Ware, because it's the game's still going to be up tempo. They being the Bucks don't have a ton of depth up front without Giannis. And so I think that there is some openness for Kel'el Ware to come off the bench and to be able to produce. I'm almost like, I'd like it better if I know for sure, and I'm pretty sure he's going to come off the bench. The Heat at this point would be out of their mind to try to start them both, because, again, I think the Heat are better having separated them. I wanted them both to start together. Something's not right when they start together. So I'm liking it a little bit better, especially over the last few games for Kel'el Ware. So thinking about this right now, he's actually one of the more valuable pieces tonight when it comes to value plays. So that's definitely one that I'm going to be looking at here. Then we move on to Golden State and New Orleans. And that's another one that's going to be New Orleans kind of slowing down a little bit when it comes to their pace. But here's the interesting thing. And he might be an add-on. I might put him in like the value section and say, let's see if he's not restricted. I'd be very surprised if he isn't restricted at all. But the big question is, DeJounte Murray is playing in this game tonight. And there's no Steph Curry, no Jimmy Butler, might not have Draymond Green. Porzingis is out. So we all know that DeJounte Murray can volume produce. And 8 times out of 10, I would not even give it consideration. Hell, Josh Giddey's a volume producer, but we're not seeing him play 30 minutes just yet. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. If we find out that DeJounte Murray is playing like 25 minutes, I can buy that. I'll buy that. I'll go in for it on GPPs. If we find out that DeJounte Murray is playing 12 to 15 minutes, then even in the best of matchups, and I'm not saying that this matchup is good, but with a lot of their bigger guys, a lot of their better defenders out, it does bode well for the Pelicans and for especially DeJounte Murray, who you know is going to have the rock a lot. There's no Trey Murphy in this game, which benefits him. Like I'm right now twisted up in the game here because DeJounte Murray is one of our favorite DFS players until he's priced up in that 8K range, which probably won't be long until that happens, maybe the next few weeks. But is now a good time. The environment is good. But the big question is at 6K, 6.2, is the juice worth the squeeze? I'm going to probably end up writing him as a value option, maybe even a secondary play. But if we find out we're getting 12 minutes, 15 minutes, he's heavily restricted, I'm probably not going that direction tonight because I can't see that 5X at that point. Even you tell me he's going to play max 22 to 25, I'll buy it. What if he's at 20, Fensty? I'll think about it. I'll probably make a more of a Discord play where a few, Fensty, what about DeJounte Murray? 20 minutes, it's risky, but can he get you 4X in 20 minutes with the kind he plays? The more I'm talking to you guys about this, the more I'm starting to convince myself because, like I said, and I'm looking on my big board of plays right now, there's nobody, Jalen Johnson at his price point jumps off the page, but I know that there's a risk attached to it. If Embiid sits, Tyrese Maxey jumps off the page a little bit more. But there's no one, and I'm especially looking at the guards, that I'm overly excited about. So with that, maybe a guy like DeJounte Murray, but I need that 20 minutes. I'm not going to, 15 to 18, I'm probably not going to have the stones to do that. I'm probably not. And if he does, he just gets there, and good for you, because he's been out for a very long time. And to just bring him back in and put a lot on him, we're not doing that. That's just not happening. That is one of the biggest questions because there are very few players that can volume produce like him. He'll grab rebounds. He'll dish. He'll score. It's not like the Pelicans without Murphy. It's really Zion and a bunch of inconsistent scorers. That's really what it comes down to. So this is one of those rare instances, and I'm saying this while I'm saying on the other side, a guy like Josh Giddey, who's in a tough matchup, but I still don't feel comfortable playing him at 25 minutes. DeJounte Murray's been out for such a long time. I'm going to trust him at 15. We find out 22 to 25. We find out, well, they've just been holding him out for the hell of it. Then that's fine. I'm down with it. Final couple of matchups here. Dallas and Brooklyn. Whenever Brooklyn's on there, I just get a pit, like a knot in my stomach, because we all know that Dallas, even this Dallas team, can take care of it. But here's what I'm going to say. No Cooper Flag in this matchup. And with no Cooper Flag, maybe, because look, Brooklyn still has Michael Porter. Maybe Brooklyn can stay in it a little bit. And this is one of those matchups where, while he hasn't been giving us that 5x plus return, Michael Porter's intriguing. And I can't believe I'm saying this. And I mean, I'm like going to vomit. I'm going to Ralph by saying this alone. Nick Claxton's been producing. And every time I see him producing and then I put our investment in there, boom, he sucks it up. He gets us 22 DraftKings points, and that's it. So I'm going to go after it tonight. I am. We are. He's going to be my mid-price center tonight. But am I going to be stacking the deck? Am I going to be putting him in a lot of lineups? Hell no on that. Outside of that, yes, I'm going to be looking at PJ Washington too, but I don't really trust Brooklyn that much. Maybe I'll try to find one of their value guards, because it is going to be a major pace-up spot for the Nets. But at the end of the day, Michael Porter, I feel like, I don't want to say is safe, but he's a little bit more intriguing, and he should be able to crawl to that 5x plus return here. Dallas, at this point, they're going to need their wings to come through in order for them to be able to compete. OKC, Toronto, remember, this isn't the same Oklahoma City Thunder that Toronto now gets Toronto gets a nice pace-up spot here. With the Thunder, let's not forget, I mean, Chet Holmgren is questionable. There's no SGA. There's no Jalen Williams. There's no AJ Mitchell. There's a lot of guys that are out right now for the Thunder. So that can benefit Toronto even more. So I don't want to forget about Toronto. So guys like Brandon Ingram tonight, they speak to me a little bit more, although he's priced accordingly. Scottie Barnes, who normally doesn't speak to me. I'll play to the pace with Scottie Barnes tonight. There's no Jakob Poeltl or anything like that. Don't know what the hell's going on in that situation. No Poeltl tonight. So there is going to be some benefits. We got to remember that while the Thunder are good, they're missing top guys, and they're missing SGA. Forget who else they're missing. They're missing SGA right now. And Toronto's been a damn good defense all year long. So Toronto can actually be up in this game, and they get the pace up spot too. So I'm going to be, despite this being the lowest total of our slate, I'm going to be looking at this a little bit more tonight with the Toronto Raptors. A lot of their big guys are priced up, but we could get some value on some of their bigger players, some of their big men in the post, because no Jakob Poeltl is there. Maybe a Sandro Mamu, maybe a Murray Boyles, but Scottie Barnes is definitely in the write-up tonight. So there's a little bit of a snapshot. I'm going to have the article up at fantasyguru.com. I'll be in Discord from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, helping everybody build with Mike the Beard. He'll be on tap with me in there. This one's going to be a storm, but we're going to conquer the storm, because, damn it, that is what we do, and that's what the Elite Mafia does. When we stick together, we all win together. And someone else who stuck with me and won with me and is going to help us win more here, from Miami Beach himself here, and I got the jersey up here, and I'll tell you why in a second. It's our Florida fave, Armando Marsal. What's going on, Armando? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Fency. How about yourself, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I wanted to wear not only this cool Miami Vice jersey for you, D Wade, and everything, but I wanted to bring something up to you, because Pat Riley got a statue in Los Angeles, and for everything he did with the Showtime Lakers, we know how great of a coach he was, winning all those titles and being involved in them. And then he goes after the Lakers. He goes to the Knicks. He turns them into a contender, brings them to a brink of a championship. But here's the interesting thing, Armando, because Pat Riley, a lot of people think of him, oh, Coach Riley, but this guy is also going to go down as maybe one of the best executives of all time in sports, not just the NBA, but in sports. And let me ask you, Armando, how old are you, if you don't mind telling us?
Oh, fancy. I got to do math. So I was born 83. I'll be 43 this year. So I'm 42 as we speak. So
Okay,
I always got to do math. I'm being honest. I stopped counting.
You're the most like in shape guy in the fantasy industry, man.
Oh, no way. No way.
Age means nothing to you.
No way. Not even close, but I appreciate the kind words.
So the reason why I asked this, and by the way, I was born in 87, so I'm 39. I just turned 39. And the reason why I asked this, because you remember what life was like when the Miami Heat franchise first launched and taking a little bit of time to kind of get things together, the Glenn Rice years, for instance. But then when Pat Riley snaked my New York Knicks because he was playing footsie with your Miami Heat and ended up bouncing with 1 year left on his contract to go to Miami, just how quick and how much of an impact has Pat Riley made in sports fandom in the city of Miami, because he put the Heat on the map?
Oh, he did. I mean, since he's been there, 3 championships, right? In Miami, 3 championships. He coached 1, 2 as an executive. He's just created a culture. And that's the thing, right? Like, it's been a winning culture here. We're not the best team every season. And, we're not, in the NBA championship every season. But I feel like when you look at it, since he's been here, Miami's one of those teams that they're normally in the playoffs. They're a competitive team. Even when, we haven't had the best supporting cast, they find ways to win. They find ways to get it done. And they're typically a team, and generally a team that I'm pretty sure most NBA teams throughout the seasons don't want to face in the postseason. That's the kind of team that they've established themselves as here. So, man, I think he's done a phenomenal job. And I couldn't agree more with you. Not only is he going to go down as one of the best coaches, right, in history, but one of the best executives, because what he's been able to do here, the pieces he's been able to bring, the players he's been able to bring. I mean, LeBron, Chris Bosh, when he was able to accomplish that really changed the NBA. Like, that changed the NBA for up to today. Like, that has changed the NBA. So for me, I think his impact, not only in Miami, but in the sport, has been significant. So just a mastermind, in my opinion. And look what he's able to do with Spoelstra. Like, I don't think that's talked about enough. Like, he had Spoelstra under his wing, and now Spoelstra is one of the best coaches, in my opinion, in the NBA history, based on his, sample size of what he's done. So I just think he's done a phenomenal job here all around, man.
He saw things ahead of all the other executives. And the biggest example is this. The Orlando Magic couldn't retain Shaquille O'Neal because they couldn't fathom paying an athlete $100 million in 1996. But Pat Riley saw where the league was going and where the money was going and just how big the NBA had gotten, that he gets in there, he calls up Charlotte, he gets Alonzo Mourning from them instantly, because they just paid Larry Johnson. They didn't want to pay both of them. They want to pay Mourning. So they got Alonzo Mourning instantly. And then mid-season, they get Tim Hardaway after that. Just like that, this team goes from Glenn Rice, Grant Long, Matt Geiger, those guys, to Mourning and Hardaway in the snap of a finger. And the reason why Shaq rejected the original offer from the Magic, which was a 4-year, $80 million deal, which, look, 20 a year, he said it, not bad. He saw on ESPN Alonzo Mourning got paid $100 million like Riley promised him when he acquired him. And Shaq said, I want 105. And the Magic are like, who the F for you? And Pat Riley was always ahead, whether it's coaching or being an exec, always ahead of the game. It just got me thinking of that, man, because the reason why I'm such an NBA head, the Knicks Heat rivalry with me and my grandfather, who lived in South Florida after being in Jersey, moved down to South Florida, started siding with the Heat, turned heel on the Knicks, became a Heat fan. We'd go back and forth. Early internet days, I'd be looking up the stats. He'd curse at me. I'd be 9, 10 years old. He'd curse me out. He'd call me an a-hole in a playful way, but he would still do it. Those Knicks Heat series of the late 90s really bonded us together even more. And just seeing what Pat Riley, because that's where it all started, the Knicks Heat rivalry. Pat Riley leaving New York to go to Miami with 1 year left on the deal, and just seeing what he's done. And like you said, LeBron and Bosh and all of them, the guys he's brought, and Spoelstra, who is a carbon copy of him and an excellent head coach. He's done all that, and he's still with the organization today.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the organization he started like in the back stuff. He was in a little room, like just
he
doing
was a video
paperwork.
coordinating intern.
Yes, he was an intern. I'm telling you, like it's so impressive. Like, because this is Pat Riley, like just literally took him under his wing and said, "I'm going to teach you everything." And look what he's created. He's created one of the best coaches in the NBA. And you mentioned it, man. It's just what he's been able to do, and it's period after period. And people are saying, "Oh, he's lost his touch now. He hasn't hit the big." Dude, listen, you can't do it every year. I mean, you can't do it every year. I know it's been 12 years now since we won the championship, but we're contending and we're competing and we've made championships between 2013 and now. So there's only one champion. People can't forget that there's only one champion. But I think so long as you're bringing out a product and competing each and every year, you're doing your job the right way, right? Because only one team can win the championship, and that's what he's done. And the product here in Miami, it's the best product there is, right? As a sports, they're better than the Dolphins. They've been better than the Dolphins for many years now. Better than the Marlins. Well, you can make a strong case for the Florida Panthers. So I'm going to have to retract because the Florida Panthers have been the hot team the last couple of years.
2 years ago,
correct.
No one gave a damn about the Florida Panthers.
Yes,
that's not true. That's not true. They've had a decent fan base and stuff like that, but they weren't what they are now.
No, definitely not. There's more. The fan base has grown significantly over the last years. I think that's the right way to say this, right? Like there was a fan base, but it's grown significantly the last 2 years. So I have a friend of mine that's been following the Panthers since the inaugural year. Like that's how it works, Me, I follow it very little. I don't follow hockey like that. But yes, it is a grow. Like I would say them and the Heat are the two best franchises. Think about that. The two youngest, right? I believe they're the two youngest. I don't know if the Marlins came before the Heat or not. We have to search that.
No. The Marlins. I want to say the Marlins came after the Heat.
Okay, so okay. So
close.
Okay, well, very close, yeah. But they're some of the two best sports organizations in town, man. It's insane to me, and I kudos to Pat Riley. I don't want to see him retire. I'll tell you that I don't want to see him retire.
No, not at all. By the way, I was at mid-dynasty, and then we'll leave this topic. I was mid-dynasty draft, a mid-rookie draft in my NBA Dynasty League, and I had just seen an interview with Pat Riley just boasting about Kasparas Giacoussionis, and I knew I had read about him going into the draft, and when Pat Riley was just boasting about him, how they wanted him, this was the guy that they wanted, dude, I drafted him. I had my Dynasty League, and now, I'm getting trades for, Giacoussionis for draft picks. People want him now because we're starting to see him play a little bit now. So, but yeah, man.
Listen, when Pat Riley talks, you listen. Sorry. That's all I was going to say. When Pat Riley talks, you listen.
Of course. Dude, mastermind here. Let me ask you this, since you're an NBA mastermind. I am having so much trouble tonight when it comes to figuring out who to invest in this NBA slate. We've got this 8-gamer going on. I know that you're not on the cheat sheet tonight, but here's the interesting thing. The most appealing game, unfortunately, in the highest total at 238.5 is Wizards Hawks at 13.5 points spread, which is a little bit scary for anyone. But I've been saying Jalen Johnson is one of the very few players that can volume produce that, even if his minutes are chopped off by 4 or 5. Let me ask you in general, because I had to deal with this last night in the 3-gamer with Utah and Houston. How do you deal with double-digit spreads when you're coming up with your DFS plays for content?
So it's always going to be slate dependent for me. How, the size of slate, how many games have double-digit spreads, and then the players, right? Because if it's a game like tonight, we have our slate like tonight, we have an 8-game slate if I'm not mistaken. And there's 2 games with double-digit spread. You have the Pacers and 76ers, that's a 10-point spread. And you mentioned Washington and Atlanta with a 13.5 point spread. Normally, Fancy, what I try to do in these is I try not to pay up in these, with these double-digit spreads, especially on the 8-game slate. If it was a 3-game slate last night, it's free for all. We're going for it. It doesn't matter because there's only 3 games to choose from, so you can't really be too picky. In this instance, I might have exposure to this game, especially since it has the highest total on the slate, but that doesn't mean it's going to be Jalen Johnson. Is this a smash spot for him? Absolutely. Can he produce and can he pay off his salary even if he's not getting the regular allotment of minutes? Absolutely. Is it a risk I'm willing to take? Probably not. because of the size of the slate. I might go and invest in some of the value guys. You got Williams there who could play, minutes in the mid-20s here. I was looking at someone like Vucevic. That's another guy that we could look at who's been playing pretty decent. You could get 20 minutes of volume producer in short, even in short minutes. So that might be where I end up if I invest in this game. But again, it's always going to be slate dependent. It's going to be, player dependent, game dependent, all of that stuff. I probably won't be as invested in that Philly and Indy game, whereas I have much more interest in this Washington-Atlanta game, even though it has the larger spread.
Armando Marsal does a lot of content for the website for fantasyguru.com, including football, but on basketball too, as part of the basketball team. But Armando, let's talk a little football with you here because we're reviewing some of these teams from 2025 and where we go from here. So Buffalo, now with Joe Brady fully running the show here, what changes with that? Like, why would they fire McDermott? Like, what now changes? Because this team, just as a team, is on the cusp of getting to that next level. They just can't take that second step forward.
Yeah, so I still don't understand the firing McDermott. I don't think that he was the issue. Keeping Brady around, I think it's just kind of what they're trying to do is keep everything in place, and maybe just make a few changes, because Brady has been around now, since 2022. He's the offensive coordinator for them the last 2 seasons. I don't expect much to change in this offense, if we're being honest. I think that you're going to kind of see the same offense. I do think that they need to, add a wide receiver here. A wide receiver one is what they really need. They need to obviously improve that run defense. So I think they're going to make some changes around, and maybe not necessarily personnel, but maybe scheme changes in the defense here. But offensively, I don't see things changing all that much. Brady has been, their offensive coordinator the last 2 seasons, and I expect a very similar offense going into 2026.
We saw a big thing that we saw was James Cook and his usage and how many carries he got. He got way more carries. I guess I must have forgotten for a second because he ended up with 309? I was like, wow, that many. And you're seeing previous seasons, and it's not due to lack of durability. You're seeing him in like the 210 to 230 range, and now you see 309. So I got to ask you this, man, because seeing that, he's going to be a very, very costly fantasy draft pick next year. We could even maybe argue first, second round. I mean, is he going to be looking at similar usage, you think, in 2026?
Well, he went from 207 to 309 rush attempts. All right. He went from 245 to 349 opportunities. 349 opportunities, the highest he's had in his career. I think that he can sustain that, right? And I was very surprised too, because he had never gotten that kind of volume. The most he had was 291 opportunities in 2023. And a lot of that came from those 54 targets he had, because that season he only had 237 carries, like you pointed out. For me, I think that this is here to stay. I think we should see upwards of 300 opportunities. And the number that's standing out to me a lot from him is those double-digit touchdowns each of his last 2 seasons, 16 in 2024, 12 this past season. Those are rushing touchdowns. He also had 2 receiving touchdowns each of those seasons. I think these opportunities are here to stay. And I think because of that, and he's going to be a first-round running back. That's just what it is. He's been RB8 and RB6 the last 2 seasons. I wouldn't be surprised to see him going in that, back end of that first round, front end of that second round. But you're looking at a top 15 pick, in my opinion, in 2026. And rightfully so. He's earned that at this point. I thought there was going to be touchdown regression. There was slight, from 16 to 12. But that's not the regression I was expecting. I was expecting much less than 12 this season. And I'll be honest, I was very, very stunned and surprised with the usage. Happy to see it because I've always wanted to see it. The potential was there. You knew that he was an excellent running back. You knew that he's a very good running back. And just he was not getting those opportunities. You're seeing what he can do with those opportunities. I think that that's here to stay. Fancy. And his role in the red zone, despite Josh Allen having a significant role, is a large one. This is a team that was frequently inside the 20-yard line in 2025, and I don't expect anything to change there in 2026.
So something you said before, you're expecting, or maybe something that the Bills can look to do, is add a all-round wide receiver one that can help out, because when you look at their wide receivers or even just their pass catchers, they don't really have too much. It's no disrespect to Khalil Shakir because he was the most targeted guy. But outside of that, you saw, as always, when Dalton Kincaid, he doesn't play a lot of snaps, but when he's on the field, he gets thrown to a decent amount. But Keon, Coleman, whatever, Palmer, whatever. So they don't really have much here. So let me ask you this, just in general, before we get to the pass catcher specifically. Josh Allen was still able to average and via total points, the number 2 quarterback in fantasy last year. And this is a guy that's once again going to be going likely in the early 3rd round. Are you someone that spends up on quarterback generally? And if you are, you're going to go after Josh Allen?
No, I normally do not spend up at quarterback. I don't like to draft a quarterback early in my drafts. The same thing with tight end. You and I think, have talked about that as well here. Generally, just because of opportunity cost at the other positions, running backs, wide receivers, I'm very, very aggressive with those 2 positions early on in my drafts. Again, there's nothing wrong with taking a quarterback early, especially someone like Josh Allen. You look at the numbers, he's averaged 24, 24.4, 26, 28, 28, 26.6, 28.3, 20.5. This is points per game, right? Since 2019, I went from 2025 all the way to 2019. So he's averaged over 20 fantasy points per game in every single season since 2019. And he's averaged over 25 fantasy points in 4 of his last 6 years, never under 24 fantasy points per game. You're getting yourself a solidified floor, a massive ceiling on a week-to-week basis. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with him. Look, he's been QB1, QB1, QB2, QB1, QB4, QB1. All right. He is the guy. If you're going to invest in early round QB, he is the one. I don't do it, but I will not talk anyone out of doing it, Fensterman.
Yeah, I've been so stuck because, I've done it at times, mainly in my auctions, because if I see one of the quarterbacks going, for instance, like mistake that I guess I made, normally I'm used to seeing quarterbacks go for in fantasy football auctions, the top end guys go for 20 plus. I ended up getting Lamar Jackson at, I believe it was 17, not thinking I was going to get the bid, but I said, okay, it's Lamar Jackson. But obviously that didn't work out. But that's where I'm more open to it when I'm in auctions and I'm seeing Josh Allen went for 17, 18. That would have been awesome too. So, that's what makes my mind a little bit more open-minded when spending up on those quarterbacks, because just in the snake, I always look for a way to be able to last until at least the 7th, 8th round before trying to address that. Now, you mentioned tight ends. We've had tight end conversations. You and I have both guys that wait on tight end. Let's just say next few questions here, we're going to assume that they sign a wide receiver. So they bring someone else in there to catch some passes. Dalton Kincaid, if you can draft him in the 11th, 10th, 11th round, is that to you a top 12 tight end that we can rely on as our tight end 1 in fantasy?
So can I go back to what you said about auction? Because I think it's something that's very important.
Sure.
I agree 100% with you. In auction, I am more aggressive. So you said they went for 17. I had them. I do the auction draft book over at fantasyguru.com. And I had them both Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, by the way, at 30 to 34 range, right?
Wow.
30, yeah. So that's the value I gave them. If I can get a quarterback like that at 17, and that's the most expensive quarterback, to me, that's still underpriced, and I'm going to be aggressive. I would have gone, 20. I'm just saying, just having that conversation. But I won't invest a 3rd round pick on him. It's a big difference, right? The dynamics change, and I wanted to make it clear for those who are listening because it is important. Every league setting, every draft setting is very different, and you have to treat those differently each and every one. So I did want to point it out because I would have gone up to $25 on one of these quarterbacks, and that I'm not as aggressive in a redraft because it's a round, it's not a value. So I just wanted to make that, I wanted to bring that up because I think it is important. The 2 different dynamics. To answer the Kincaid question, Fensty, I think he does offer you top 12, right? Opportunity and potential there. But you have to understand with certain players and certain investments what you're going to get. Now, you can get the guy that's going to finish tight end 15, tight end 16, but gives you a little bit more of a stable weekly floor, just a lower ceiling, and you're not going to get many peak weeks. You're going to get that 8 to 12 fantasy points pretty consistently. Or you're going to get someone like Kincaid I think he's going to be very touchdown dependent. This is an offense that spreads the ball. You look at it last year, he was 3rd on the team in targets per game at 4.1. He had a 15% target share. No one on this team averaged more than 5.9 targets per game. You have 5.9, 4.5, 4.1, 3.13, 2.9. The ball was passed around. That's what's to be expected. So I think Kincaid's going to be a touchdown-dependent tight end here who can finish inside the top 12, but the week-to-week production can be frustrating, can be volatile. And there might be weeks where he gives you 3 fantasy points and then other weeks where he gives you 16 fantasy points. So that is the kind of tight end you'd be investing in when it comes to Kincaid. But yes, I do think he could be a top 12 tight end over the course of the season.
Yeah, you'll have to accept a decent amount of 8-point weeks. By the way, I'm going to make a statement here, Armando. You don't have to be on this side with me or not. Get rid of snake drafts. Every one of you out there should be doing a fantasy sports auction in whatever sport. I'm telling you, it will make you better. It will make you a better drafter. It will open your mind, and it gives you an opportunity to get the guys that you want, and you're not stuck in a spot. Snake drafts are the easy way out. Yeah, an auction takes a bit longer, especially in baseball, but that's how you get who you want. That's how you maintain somewhat of control over your team's destiny and not stuck in a specific spot. You have the opportunity. You want to spend up and get Josh Allen, you're going to outbid every freaking person in your league to do so. You have that opportunity. And I guess you can technically overdraft a Josh Allen if you want to in the first round of a snake draft. But unless you have that first overall pick, that's not a guarantee, Armando. I can't be a bigger fan of fantasy football auctions or fantasy sports auctions.
I do like auctions a lot. I will not take away the snake drafts because those are fun too. And it lets you volume draft in best ball. So it's a little bit easier, Fancy. It's a little bit easier. I can't see myself doing 60 auction drafts for drafters best ball, if we're being honest.
Fine. Best ball stays with the snake drafts. So redraft, that's auction only.
I actually like I've tried to make that change in my home league. I've suggested it. It's a no-go for a lot of the guys, but that's okay. We still do the snake draft. But I enjoy auction drafts, man, because like you said, like there's so much strategy with auction drafts. It's not just drafting your players. Sometimes you're pulling players out you don't even care about, right? You're throwing curveballs, you're throwing sinkers, you're throwing fastballs. No one knows what you're doing. At least that's the way I like to do it. And you know, sometimes you pull a player you want early that you got to see where you stand with him and where everyone else stands with him. And
I'm throwing out Trey McBride. If I had the first overall nomination, or second or third, I'm throwing out Trey McBride. I'm throwing out those top tight ends, and everyone's going to be eager to spend. Everyone's going to want to spend. Oh my God, Trey McBride, and we're going to bid them the hell up.
Yeah, absolutely. What I do is I'll just set my bid to like where I say, all right, this is it. And then anytime you bid, say boom, no, boom, boom, keep going up. It's like, all right, now we're good. It's like, then it goes over there. I'm like, all right, he's all yours. Now you have like $30 less than I do. Let's keep bidding. Yeah, that's the way I do it. Like I do the same thing. Like look, I'll take out Josh Allen, and I know my limit with Josh Allen, and I'll set my limit with Josh Allen. And I say, okay, this is as far as I go with Josh Allen. Someone else is going to outbid me 100%, right? And that's okay, but that's less money that person has.
Oh, we need the season to start tomorrow. Is it free?
I'm ready to do an auction draft right now.
Oh my God, I'm
ready to go.
I get the itch after the fantasy football season's done. There's like 2 weeks where I'm like, okay, it's time for a break, and then man, I get the bug again. I get the itch. So, what do you got coming up on the site over the next week?
So as soon as I get off this show with you, I'm going to be recording a podcast with Tyler Beaker. Him and I are going to break down the AFC East. Then later in the week, we're going to be breaking down another AFC division. So moving forward, twice a week, I'm going to be breaking down a division. Tyler Beaker and myself, we're going to be doing it there at the podcast. We got obviously a lot of content coming up for free agency, the NFL draft, and all that good stuff here over at fantasyguru.com, plus NBA as well. I'm on with you tomorrow. We'll be breaking down that slate. We'll be on in Discord. We'll be doing the cheat sheet, the article, all that good stuff. You and I always get together throughout the day and share ideas where we're at and stuff like that. So it's a good day for me. And yeah, man, that's what's going on here over on my neck of the woods, man.
Very good. So we'll be on the lookout for that. I'll have the write-up in a little bit at fantasyguru.com. I'll have some bet skis too, looking to heat up just a little bit there. And then I'll be in Discord with you from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, helping everybody out that needs help building. Again, it's going to be a storm, but we're going to conquer the storm. That's what we're about. I'll be back on tomorrow's show where I'll be talking not only NBA, getting ready for the slate tomorrow, but also a little NASCAR. I'm going to go over my lineup with Rich Mileto, and we're going to talk about where I went wrong and kind of what the thought process was. And then we're going to take a look forward to the next race. Because again, when you get the MVP pass plan, this is part of it right here. You don't want to bet NBA, Fensty's a little cold, go to NASCAR, go to golf, go to MMA. There's plenty of different playgrounds for you to have fun on at the end of the day. For Armando Marsal, I'm Justin Fensterman. Give Armando a follow at Armando_Marsal. I'm at Fensty Sports, FENSTY Sports. It's Fantasy Sports Daily on the Elite Plus Network, powered by the good old FG, FantasyGuru.com.